Well, in the race for the White House, both parties have their own sets of problems. Republicans, they got a clown car parked with more than a dozen candidates, and the ringleader, believe it or not, Donald Trump here. If you thought he's a one-day story, unfortunately, no. Other candidates now forced to take sides and comment on his outrageous statements when it comes to immigration. You know, the whole Mexican rapists and a whole lot of other things. Well, with the first debate just a month away, you heard me right. The first debate is less than a month away. Are Republicans already turning off voters? And Richard, you look at the poll numbers here. Trump in New Hampshire is at 12 or 13. The guy's not going to win. I don't want to even spend time on him. But the point is, every candidate's got to respond to him. We were talking this morning meeting, and Andrew's point is that Jeb Bush could have even come out of the gates even earlier. But as a result here, now the Ted Cruz of the world are giving him validity and all the rest. Yeah. And now they're looking at the polls saying maybe this is what the base wants. Do I have to tread even more carefully? How much of a headache is this guy with the bad hair?
Well, look, he is a big headache, and that's because he attracts media attention. We're talking about him right now. And so that is a problem. When we were talking about issues like the economy, education, immigration reform, not immigration stereotyping. You have to respond to that because the media is going to come back, and it makes for good TV. You know, Donald Trump said something crazy. Mexicans kill people. That's what they came to this country for. How do you respond to that, Jeb Bush and all the other 13 candidates there? We need a response from everybody else. And it just distracts from what's really important, and that are issues, like I said, with education, economy, immigration reform, Social Security, so forth and so on. Those, unfortunately, Donald is distracting from these issues.
And unfortunately, you see a tragic story, Andrew, in San Francisco, and all of a sudden it's another opportunity for him to say, see, I was right.
Right.
Yeah, but, among the key issues that Republicans have to weed through is getting rid of the wacky voices that are distracting from the messages that you're trying to, and weeding out the candidates who are issuing those wacky messages. And look, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz have the xenophobic vote locked down, but every other candidate except George Pataki missed the boat on this one. They had every opportunity to come out hard and denounce what Trump had said, including Jeb Bush, whose wife is Mexican, and could have easily taken a personal umbrage at it and didn't until it was under the cloak of the 4th of July weekend when nobody heard it, and said this guy doesn't speak for the party. This guy shouldn't be allowed to issue these voices and to issue these opinions, and there's no place for that in this campaign. And they all missed the boat, except for Pataki. You see the bump he got.
I would say not that they missed the boat. People want to try to ignore Trump and his comments. And the media has forced the answer to the question, what do you think about his comments?
But they shouldn't have had to force them. Every Republican should have been lining up to get in front of a microphone and saying, this guy's wrong.
Because then all you're doing is feeding into Trump and making him bigger.
Isn't the goal, gentlemen, to win? I mean, you're talking about what's morally right and what we should do. The last time I checked, the goal is to win.
Except, Dom, to Andrew's point, when you have such a crowded field, and in a month, only the top 10, as strange as that sounds, get on the stage for this first debate, you got to break out of the field.
Right.
And some of these guys aren't going to even get on the stage unless they say something. So they can't afford to ignore it.
Agreed. Right now we're into name recognition, and when you have the only spike Trump is receiving, he's now in like second or third place, is because all the media coverage. And if that was the strategy to be in that top 10%, then he's winning, then he'll be on that stage.
Let me ask you one last thing on Republicans
brand.
before we get to the Democrats. The idea that the Koch brothers push forward here is, let's clear the field earlier than last time. 4 years ago, it bit us in the rear end here. So let's do this early. An August debate? I mean, if the public's not tired of this already, a debate in August, a year and change early, don't you like this idea?
That's absolutely, because you do have to clear the field. Remember, there's a general election, there's a primary,
but doesn't it risk embarrassing the party even more if a Trump's on the stage doing this, and now you've even gone even further off message?
What do you think later down the line it's going to help? No, do it early. Let's get this out of the way. Let's get to the real candidate for the party, and let's get to the general election.
All right. Let's get to the Democrats, because it's not like they don't have their own headaches. Bernie Sanders, migraine number one for Hillary Clinton. He's drawing massive crowds at every appearance. 10,000 people alone came to see him in Wisconsin last week. He's running way to Hillary's left here. And we are seeing a rift in the party, not just between the two campaigns. Nancy Pelosi, she just said Elizabeth Warren, the patron saint for the progressives here, does not speak for all Democrats. Is the rift on the left worse, or at least approaching what's on the right here, Jeannie? Is this a real problem, or Bernie Sanders ain't going to win unless, I don't know, the tectonic plate shift or something. But nonetheless,
Even then.
it's raising money. He's not going to go quietly into the good night. And progressives have been waiting for a reason, to complain that they haven't been heard for the last 7 years. Is this a big problem for Democrats?
It's not a huge problem for Democrats, not nearly as much of a rift as we see in the Republican Party, but it is an issue. And I think after 2016, as you get into 2018, 2020, we are going to see the Democratic Party, we've seen it in New York State, we've seen it in other blue states, move more to the left, and I think that is going to happen. I don't think the issue is going to be as pronounced in 2016, but certainly you've got to give Bernie Sanders credit. He has gotten out there. He's to the left of Hillary Clinton on everything except maybe gun control, where he's a little bit more moderate, or maybe to the right of Hillary Clinton. And he's made his case, and he's drawing these enormous crowds. Now, that said, the Clinton team hasn't been trying to draw enormous crowds. I mean, we have to put that in perspective. He doesn't have her money.
They rope off the journalists.
Yeah,
right,
they rope off the
Right,
journalists.
and
He
they
doesn't
have
have
a
her
secret
money. He
media.
doesn't have her name recognition. He doesn't have her structure. So, but he does. And I also give him credit because Bernie Sanders has said repeatedly, I'm not going to attack her personally. I'm going to talk about the issues. And he's done that. And I give him credit for that. Do I think this plays in 2016? Probably not as much. But I think going forward, this is going to be the line in the Democratic Party.
So if you're the Clinton camp, do you say, A, I ignore the guy completely, and Axelrod said as much to say don't overplay and over-respond to him. B, do you start tacking left? Because obviously 10,000 people showing up in Wisconsin says something, Andrew. Or do you remind people, we're talking about a guy who called himself a socialist.
Well, first
you
of-
don't get elected president of the United States as a socialist.
First of all, his numbers are something of a mirage. It's a lot of the people who are supporting Elizabeth Warren who are now finding him as the candidate of
Right.
choice. And drawing 10,000 people in Madison, Wisconsin is like, trying to find Occupy Wall Street in Zuccotti Park. They're going to be there. Having said that, Hillary's already tacked left. If you look back at her 2008 campaign, now she's talking about income inequality. Now she's going hard or throwing some shots at Wall Street. So some of the Warren Sanders agenda has already found its way into what Hillary Clinton's been saying. I don't think she has to address him head on. I think she just has to show that she's willing to accommodate some of the concerns from the progressive left. Everybody who's supporting Bernie Sanders right now is going to come home to Hillary at some point. Nobody who was at that thing in Madison is going to vote for the Republican nominee,
Fair
I guarantee.
enough. Tom, I know it's a silly season. It's slow, and we're talking about all this stuff as everybody else who does our job. But it's funny. There are a lot of Democrats who you would figure by now would have had the same kind of excitement that they had for the Obama thing now for Hillary. I don't see it as much. I don't know how palpable it is. I think they all believe she's competent, and certainly the resume speaks for itself. But I don't sense that excitement here, really in any demographic that she's built up.
First of all, Hillary Clinton is not worried about Senator Sanders. He may be pulling out large crowds. The only thing she may be worried about is the media narrative, because the media is bored. There's no race on the Democratic side, and so we're going to create a story, and they're always going
And
to
make
create
her
a
have
story.
to talk, which she doesn't want to do.
Right.
Doing an
and
interview tomorrow.
Right, to force her out. And so if you're Hillary, you just keep running the race that you're running. I don't see her changing much. Sanders is not going to be around long, and then she'll move on to the general election. And that's that.
All right.
And that excitement that you asked me about, believe me, I was there in D.C. when she dropped out, and women were livid with Obama. They swore when I broke the glass ceiling. When they see the Democrats as well, first woman president of America, that enthusiasm will be there. Trust me. Let the general election get here first.
All right. When we come back, we're going to leave the world of politics and go to something that many, many, many of you saw last night. U.S. women winning the World Cup and the match, a huge ratings bonanza. But the question is, will women's pro soccer ever make it in America?